identify pro-black.
History is about teaching us as a people that we're at war.
I want to speak about the image of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Our ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed today.
Welcome to another live broadcast of the Jah and Kev show. I am Jah, and my man sitting over next to me is Kev. And what we're going to do is have a fruitful discussion today about a subject that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but we got to get into it. In fact, today's title is called Silence of the Lamb, or Silence of the Lambs. If you want to go singular or plural, you can take it how you want it. But basically, we're going to talk about some things that we need to discuss. But before we get started, because this is Brother Kev's idea, which I think is great, I just always wanted to ask him one question about this subject, and that's this. Why did you and how did you come up with this subject? Why did you put this on me like this?
I'm going to say this about it. The title, it's not going to be allegorical because we're going to talk about what it's no underlining,
okay,
motive, anything. They're gonna know what we're talking about and who we're talking about.
Okay.
And the thing about also Silence of the Lambs, of course, it was a movie with that same title. Mm-hmm. And the metaphorical part of the title and the movie of this, what we're talking about in the show, is the movie is about serial killers seeking out a serial killer.
Okay.
We're going to be talking about the serial killers in our community of our movements. So that's the irony of it. And that's, with the Silence of the Lambs. And also, but what we're going to talk about is those that are silent when it's time to be vocal.
Wow, that's heavy.
Speak out. That's heavy. And when the reason that they're silent is because they are lambs to the system.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
And I know you got a lot for this.
Yeah, I do. I had to do some research. I normally don't have to research with Brother Kev, but this one I had to go and dig a little bit. And one of the things I wanted to first start off by talking about is this. We talk about Silence of the Lambs and people that have tried to kill the movement of the African American, our struggle, and that's what we're talking about. But a lot of people talk loud at home behind closed doors, but when it's time to be out and tell people, hey, this is what's really going on, whether it's the educational system, whether it's a social aspect, we're silent. We're quiet, as they say, church mouses or mice. But what I don't get, Kevin, is this, and I know that we can talk about this till the cows come home, but one of the biggest issues that we have with men and women alike that know we should be speaking out against the injustices that we're plagued with is they're afraid, Kevin. They're fearful.
So what are the reasons that people will be afraid to speak out?
Yeah, well, there's very many reasons. I know one of the reasons is that they're afraid of retribution. Maybe something they feel is going to happen to them if they speak out, or they may lose their job, employment.
Right.
They may lose friends. They may lose family members, because a lot of family members don't like to talk about this. When we get together, we talk about other things, as we mentioned sometimes, sports, religion, et cetera, but talking about the system, we don't like to get down because maybe our jobs is helping us. Right. You see, the government is, and we feel like, hey, if I say something, I'm going to lose that privilege. But what do you think?
And that's realistic, though. I mean, we have to understand that that's realistic. Mm-hmm. And my point is, it is a time and a place to talk about things, and you have to be cognizant of who you work for and things like that. And you can't just go to your job and say anything that you want to say when you want to say it. We all understand that. My point is, you become a lamb to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's strategic. You can say, well, I work for, I'm not going to sit up here and I can't say things, even on the show, I can't say things because I have an employer and they may come to it and say, you offended this whole group of people. Right. I can't use certain verbiage and things like that. But that's being strategic. But if you're going to speak up with other things and then being silent when things happen with us, that's when I have an issue with you. That's when you become a lamb. If you're on a TV show or you're working for a network and you want to speak out or speak up for this or speak up for this group, but when it comes to our group, you want to be silent, then you become a lamb to me because you're using your platform to speak up, but you're not speaking up for everyone that needs to be spoken for.
Wow. Kev, I think about something that happened in 1859. It was John Brown and the Harper Ferry's raid, which happened in West Virginia. John Brown was a European. Now, a lot of people say that I personally don't have any European heroes, but John Brown is one of my heroes.
Right.
And basically what he did was he wanted to go to the armory in West Virginia and overtake the armory, and all the weapons in the armory he was to give to the black people so that they could go in and fight to stop slavery. He had his sons and about 21 men. But to my amazement, when they got into the armory, they overtook the armory, they got the guns, no one showed up. Silence of the lambs. No one showed up. No black man or woman showed up to help them. And they ended up getting killed. They hung him. They killed all the people that were in the Harper's Ferry armory. And it's like, I kind of equate that with some of us today. We see what's going on, Brother Kevin. We see how our kids are not being educated. We see how the system is treating us, but yet we don't say anything. And to me, when you don't say anything, it's if you're okay with it. You're okay with what's going on.
Right. Oh man, why do you think they didn't show up? Do you think they thought it was a trap?
Well, I mean,
because that could have been a trap. That they say, well, I don't trust this white man, and he's telling us to revolt, and you know, with everything that was happening in the country, because there was revolts at that time, right? And they was like, well, this is a perfect way to trap them. Have this guy tell them that, hey, y'all want to revolt, come here. You know, I don't. That's interesting to me. I mean, thinking about that,
because he had everything planned. He had talked to Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass didn't want to be a part of it because he said it would be suicide. He talked to Harriet Tubman, but she happened to get sick because he wanted her to send some people his way. So my thing is, I think most of them were afraid, just like today. Why are we not speaking out against the injustices? Why are we not forming groups that's going to help us as a people to stop a lot of the oppression? Why are we not saying anything other than when we get behind closed doors at a picnic or a family reunion where we talk loud, but when it's time for us to say things? And again, like you mentioned earlier, if you work for a company and they ask you, is there such thing as racism? By saying yes, there is, that you're not going to get fired for saying
ask it, because you're asking me my opinion. I'm saying it is. And then you can explain. And this is one of the things that I try to talk to us. I try to talk to our people about. You have to understand what racism is, because you will have them telling you that you could be racist, and you cannot be racist. Racist is a person that's part of a racism, the system,
right?
And we don't have any power. Racism is about power.
Yes, sir.
And I hate when people say, "Well, it's black racist." I say, no, it's racism is a power structure. We don't influence the way anyone worships their religion. We don't influence anyone's education, or economics. So racism is something that we're a victim to. You could be bigoted, but you're not a racist. You're not. It's not racism. It's not black racism. Unless you're talking about in a black country in Africa or something like that, you could say that they could impose racism. But the thing is with us, when I hear people trying to talk up, like you said, if a company asks me, I'm going to tell them exactly what I feel and what I know, what I've witnessed. Now, I don't even got to have that conversation with them, because it may not go anywhere. Why are you talking to me about it when you might not even be doing anything about it? If I see racist things happening in our company, I'm going to speak out. But my thing is, you have those people at work, those groups, and everybody talks about it in a break room and all this, and this is not right. And they don't even have to do anything, have anything to do with racism. It could be something about raises or whatever. And those same people, then you say, you know what, I'm going to go talk to the supervisor. We're going to talk to the man. You thinking then everybody else is just quiet. They blinking.
They're scared.
And you say, well, you know, all of us think this. The person is like, is this how y'all feel? And then you see people, well, it don't matter, you know. And then it's like they leaving you out to dry, like they left him out to dry with the armory thing.
It's called fear of consequences. You know, even though the consequences are going to be dire, because we are going to leave this earth. But here's what I want to say, Kevin. If you really look at many of us, not all of us, and I will probably be fair and say most of us that talk about how we are against the system and how we want to do things to help get us in a better position. And just give me a minute to just read this, because this is going to show the hypocrisy in us who always say that we want to speak out against the injustice. But as you just eloquently stated, when the time arises for that, we say nothing. But here it is. Just bear with me. I'm not going to be long-winded, but I have to say this because this is where we are today. True heroes are those that sacrifice it all for the cause. Some of us don't even cry for freedom anymore, brother, but we often find ourselves ensnared by the chains of our own making, unable to loosen the grip of comfort, unwilling to face the raw edges of sacrifice. We don't want to sacrifice. We don't even speak of liberty with fervor. Yet we shrink at the first taste of struggle, afraid to sever the ties with the familiar lies that bind us. In our hearts, fear festers, a fear of losing ease, status, or safety, keeping us anchored to a life we profess to despise. And so our freedom remains a ghostly illusion haunting us, for we cannot bear the weight of what it truly demands. We don't want to do what it takes, brother.
Now, where was that quote from?
This was some of my quote and some of the quote that I got off.
This is quote from Jaheed.
Yeah, I'm working. You know, I'm always working on things.
You got to claim the kind of hawker, man. I'm always just you, man.
Yeah, I'm always working on things, but I want to go back to what we're saying today: silence of the lambs. Men and women alike, we've got to stop being so measly mouse when it comes to speaking out against the injustices, because what that says to me, as I said earlier, if I continue to do you wrong and you sit there and take it, no matter what you say behind my back, you basically are agreeing with what I'm doing because you're too cowardice to say something about how I'm treating you. And listen, that's not all. For 246 years, we have been dealing with slavery, 99 years of Jim Crow, 86 years of lynching, 154 years of the civil rights, and still now, and police brutality. And I can go on and on and on. You mean to tell me that we don't have anything to talk and to say and to oppose? So we shouldn't be silenced. That in itself, we should be like most groups. When you oppress a group, all the revolutions, those people rose up. With us, we sit back and we accept this as the norm. This is not the norm. This is really an illusion.
And my pet peeve is probably we have revolutionaries that's trying to fight a revolution in whatever kind of way that you're trying to fight it. I mean, I think doing something like this is revolutionary. We're trying to invoke some type of revolution. I always say the revolution starts within self, and we're trying to spark that fire within you just to think about, hey man, I need to do something. I'm not saying go pick up a gun and try to do, January 6th or anything. I'm saying do something in your community that's gonna help make a turnaround. A revolution, the root word is revolt. Is one revolution is a revolt. It's a turnaround. When you want things to change, you want things to go in the opposite direction. So try to do something to invoke change. That's all the revolution is about. But what my pet peeve is people that sit up and complain and I say, well, what are you going to do?
There you
and
go.
They have nothing. You had all you set up here and set the table with all the things that's wrong and what your complaints are, but you haven't set a table to the side to say, well, what can I do about it? And that's what my thing. So what can we do about it? Then when you tell me it's nothing we could do about it, and then that's when I'm going to look at you. You're a lion, but you're acting like a lamb. You're a lion when it comes to getting on our people about what they don't do and why they don't do things. But I say, okay, so what do you think we should do? Spend half the energy. You could identify the problems, but spend some energy talking about resolving the issues. Or how is people out there that's trying to do things. If you don't know anything, then I'm going to go out there and I'm going to look up some groups and I'm going to support them financially. I'm going to do this, support this school financially. I'm going to donate, and I'm going to donate to a cause. Then have the same energy to do the things that you think we should do to correct the problem.
That's heavy. This is the Jah and Kev show. We hope that you guys will call in and call into our number so that we can discuss this. The number is 361-405-6111. Don't be afraid. Give us a call. Let us know your take, whether you agree or disagree or otherwise. And let's talk about why many of us are continuing to be silent as lambs. And speaking about what you said earlier, Kev, just like with our school that we have, when I tell people what our school is about, to secure the survival of a people, then I begin to talk about when they ask questions about what do you mean by that? Our school is about revolution. Mental revolution, to get the shackles off of our minds. It's about revolt. It's about overthrowing an oppressor's educational system, you see. But we send our children to the very same school every year, knowing that these people aren't teaching our children, knowing that the system is set up to make academic slaves and servants out of our children, wanting them to work for other people, keeping them in line with European standards educationally. So when we talk about revolt and revolution, that has to go across the board in every facet. So I tell people all the time, the students I have, when you talk to them, they're talking about revolution. They're talking about taking back what's theirs. They're talking about outthinking the next person. They're talking about making sure the knowledge that they have is going to help secure their future and their children's future. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And one thing I like when you was what you started the show with, you're talking about the inaction. See, I hadn't thought about it. It's not just not speaking up. It's like your inactivity. And it's crazy because I do have a quote that I want to bring probably later on, but it's talking about the inaction. And some of us, we talk a good fight, but we don't walk that fight. You know what I'm saying? Or when it's presented to you, you cower down. You know, I don't want, you act like you want it, but when it comes to your doorstep, you don't want it. And it's like you cower down, and then you leave other people out to dry. And I mean, we've seen this. We talk about Colin Kaepernick. We've seen him. And people say, well, why the other players, they need to do, why are you not supporting what he's doing? You know, you're supporting the people that's oppressing him. You know, and that's cool. And if you're going to do that, cool. But then if you're going to do that, then don't try to attack somebody else that's not doing what you want them to do. And I'm going to bring this up. We got election time coming up, right? And some people say, well, you know what? I don't like either candidate. I'm not going to vote. And then people that's going out talking about, well, we got ancestors that died for us to vote. Yeah, okay, that's true, whatever. But when we got ancestors that died for our freedom, ancestors that died for us to read or do anything, but you're not doing all those things. It's just something that you want. And I'm not saying whether you should vote or not, but I'm saying if you're going to get mad at people for choosing not to vote, then it's things that you're choosing not to do, boycotts and all these type of things that you're not doing, that they may say, well, this is what we need to do. And so my thing is, don't speak out against somebody else not doing what you want when you're not doing what they want. That's what I want to say. So just, I mean, do what you feel like we need to do. Speak about it, talk about it, campaign about it, but don't get on other people that's not doing those things because they may be doing something else or they may believe in something else and you left them out to dry.
That's awesome.
That's what I'm saying about that.
And see, this is the great broadcast because Kev's playing one side of that song. I'm going to turn the record over and play the other side for y'all. Those that do vote, the people that complain about those who do vote, you shouldn't vote, it's not going to make a difference. What in the hell then are you doing to make a change for all the things that our people are struggling with? So we're playing both sides of the album so you can see that it's a balance. So those who always complain, I don't vote, it ain't going to do anything, I don't care, and that's fine, that's your choice. But my question to you is, if you're not going to do that, what are you putting in place so that the people that you're talking about, what are you going to do about our elderly who are sick, who need help, our elderly who are maybe struggling financially, if they may be able to, they're going to try to cut off their Social Security and all that. What are you doing about the educational system that's really taking advantage of our children? What are you doing about all the things that we're talking about? So basically what me and Kevin is saying is the same thing, and that is you've got to do something. You can't just complain, and you should not complain if you're not going to do anything about the situation, because that makes you a hypocrite. And I'm going to ask you this question, Kev, since you came up with this concept. I definitely want to ask you this. Do you think that many of us don't speak out because we have accepted and gone along with the so-called status quo?
Oh yeah, I think some of us love the system for they're comfortable. They're comfortable where they're at. They don't mind being manipulated and used in a system, a capitalistic system. They don't mind that they're on the bottom totem pole. They comfortable where they're at. So but they get scared. And we've seen this throughout our history with the Black Power movement. I mean, you did a play where you showed the dynamics of the older generation. Younger generation tend to be revolutionary. They have all these grandiose ideas and they look at things for what it is, and I want to change it. And then older people, once you get older, you start to, man, I got a mortgage, I got a rent, you know, I got all these, you talking foolish. Where you getting all this foolish talk from? You know, that's how they think, you know, so that way they get comfortable and then they don't support the youth for doing something that probably needs to be done. So they look at the progress that has slowly matriculated into our community, and they don't understand that I don't want crumbs. Oh man, I got more crumbs today. We got more crumbs today. So, baby, this is better for us now. Things have changed for us. Things are not as bad as they used to be. And now the younger people like, I don't care how that little bit of change. I want what's mine. I want they can't give me. I don't want to be spoon fed by the system. And the older people might, well, you know, if you change, if you go out and vote, and it's like, well, we've been voting all this time. Then that's fine. I mean, whatever the dynamics are, but I think there's people that are comfortable and think that we've made our progress and things like that. And they want progress to slowly matriculate into our community. And some people like, no, why is it matriculating? These people are making money hand over fist.
If we were in a nightclub, which me, Kev, and I, we don't do this, so don't look at us this way, brothers and sisters. But if we were in a nightclub, this is what I've got in my hand now. This yak, I mean, it's water, but if it was a yak, I'd have to take a drink because this brother is dealing today, and this is beautiful because I want to come back with this. I believe this too, Kev. Many of us, I was going to bring one, but I said, no, I'm not going to do that because somebody might take this and be offended by it because we're all adults here. But I was going to buy a pacifier. And I was going to say, yeah, now you're snickering because you know where I'm going with this. I was going to bring a pacifier and hold it up. And they said, well, what does that got to do with what we're talking about today? The reason that some people don't speak out against the injustices is because they've been pacified. They got a nice home, they got a nice car, they got an apartment, they got a whatever. It's like the people, some of them are doing the 60s, the civil rights. Oh, we need black power, we need this, we need that. And soon as they got what they needed, they don't say anything else because now they don't want to jeopardize what they have. So that's why I was going to do with that pacifier would have been a great illustration, like a baby. When a baby's crying, you stick the pacifier in the baby's mouth, the baby's quiet. Most of us have cried many, many years, but as soon as we got what we wanted, to hell with the rest of us, we're just like little babies. We've been pacified. And
that's a great analogy, and I'm gonna tell you why I think it's a very great analogy. Because the pacifier is not giving you any milk. You crying for the bottle, and they giving you something that ain't giving you no milk just to shut you up. And then you come from, you know, where your belly, you're not getting no nutrition.
Right.
Your little spot, your little house is not doing anything for our people. The milk is for our people. The milk is the education. The milk is the financial situations. The milk is independence and liberation. But they giving you something to pacify you. That's getting you to shut up, and our people are not getting any milk. So that was a great that was a great analogy.
And some of the people, Kev, some of us we have been misled. We actually believe this because, and I'm going to ask you a question after this, but many of us believe because we can look at television and see all these African Americans and these Africans on TV with all this money and all that. We feel that we have arrived. We've been misled because that's not what's happening in many of our lives. So what are you guys doing this broadcast for? We don't need to be speaking out. We're doing just fine. Just look at us because they've been misled. They've taken that pill that I talked about a few maybe weeks ago, where they actually feel like this system is really working in their behalf, but they don't look at what has really been happening. And because they lack the social power relations understanding, then what you find out is a lot of us have just been misinformed because we believe the false information. So the question I wanted to ask you, because you talked a little bit about it the last time we were together, it's about the movie stars, the athletes, and all that. You had a problem with that, Kev. Will you please tell me what you had a problem with?
Well, I had a problem. The thing is, people take their platform, you know, because I'm an actor and I'm an actress, and now I no longer want to be black, you know, because black, when you speak about being black, or being, it should be unapologetic. You know, I am black, and see, the thing that I had that really irked me was a lot of these people that were speaking out, they start speaking as if we made it. Like I'm part of, don't call me black. Why do I have to be a black actor? Well, you're a black actor because that's the roles they put you in. You can't play a white. Now they'll let white people play other people's roles. They'll make them Asian. They'll make them Pocahontas. They'll, you know, do all that, or they'll clean up their features or whatever. But with you got to play a black part. You know, and the black people that put you in that predicament, in that position, we supported you. Now that you feel like you're a big actor, the white people are, you know, they're liking you and all that stuff. As long as you play your role, you're not too militant, you don't speak out, then you're making it in their system.
Assimilation.
You assimilate, and now they like you, master likes you, and now you're turning on the people that help you get into that part. Because when you were playing them small roles, it was us that was going to you when you was small, and it was us that was buying your records. And now that you're getting a Grammy and stuff like that, now you want to, well, I don't see racism, I don't do this, and now you're getting patted on the head by them.
We did a broadcast about a gentleman that was like that, a well-known actor that said that we shouldn't talk about it. It's going to go away.
Morgan Freeman said that. He said Mike Wallace was interviewing. What do you think about racism? Stop talking about it. Okay. So my son get pulled over and beat by the police. I'm not going to talk about it. That's going to make it go away. That's going to heal his wounds. Somebody else get killed by the police. Just don't talk about it.
Listen,
so that's going to make everything just better. And that's ignorance because their platform and people like them.
I was on a podcast. I'm a part of this little meeting where we meet every week and we study the ancient Egyptian language, the meta nature, the culture. And boy, we have people from all over the country that's on that broadcast. And last week we had one of the biggest blow-ups, if you will, because they started saying things about African Americans, and most of them, or all of them are, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I couldn't be silent. So the point I'm making is I went against about maybe 10 people, California, Atlanta, Colorado, and they all were firing at me as if they were trying to say that African Americans, we're doing things that we shouldn't do. And I was telling them the people that you should be talking about are the people who set this system up. I keep hitting this. Let me get my hands back. But the people that set this system up, you have not one time said anything about them. Don't tell me about black businesses who may be trying to get over when you go buy a house or a car. The white man is raking you over the coals and you won't open your mouth. It was one of the biggest blow-ups that we ever had. And hopefully when we get together tomorrow night, if they want me on, I'll be on, but I'm not going to be silent and sit there and let you talk about my people as if we are rotten. And yet the very people who are more, if that's a such thing as us being rotten, there's no word to put on what they've done to us. And we sit there like some family members. We talk about this like now, but when we get around our family members, we say nothing, man.
Yeah, I love what you just said too, man. Because I heard Farrakhan say something, and he said every time he said, "I never get on a platform and you'll hear me talk down on a black man or a black woman, you know, or our people, basically." And he said when they point out something that's negative, and they say, "Look at him, look at her, they doing this and they doing that." He said, "Yeah, the system is terrible, right? Because that's a product of the system,
right?"
You know, that's what his thing is. And I heard even J.R. Smith say that. And people look at him, he was a basketball player, and people like he a knucklehead or whatever. But he said, you know, we got to stop getting on these shows and stuff and talking down about each other. If you have an issue with me, come tell me about it. But you going on these other people's shows and talking down on us. That's why I wasn't into the whole Cat William things and all that stuff like that. It's like, man, that's a bunch of noise. You know, if you got a problem, you should just say, beware of anyone that does this. But when you mention their name and you're attacking that person, everybody want to tune in. He just said this about him. He just said that about him. What about the whole system that's creating this issue? I'm gonna get into one more thing.
Okay.
Let me say this.
Okay.
When Bill Cosby was saying, when, you know, all his troubles that he went through, before he did that, he was talking down on us as a people. Like half of y'all can't read, half of y'all are illiterate. He can't put together a sentence. When you made your money off the Fat Elvis show with Mushmouth saying Uba Duba Abba Abba, and you making money, and that was funny for our kids. You feeding that to our kids. You got a bunch of ghetto kids on your Fat Elvis show playing music on trash cans and all this. But you got people in there that can't speak, and now you're getting on our people saying we can't speak. But my thing is, you talked about how we have our names, and you got these names like this and Shaniqua and all these things. So you getting up, not coming to talk to us in a sympathetic way or a compassionate way. You're just putting us down. You berating us as a people. You know, y'all men beating up these women and all this stuff like that. You're painting that picture for the rest of it because you're beloved by them, and you're painting that picture on us like you're the Mr. Cosby talking to his kids. And then when this problem hit you with these people that was patting you on your back, then you want all of our help. Everybody running with Bill, they doing this to Bill. I'm like, you know what? All these people that get in front of them and talk down to us or get lifted up by them and then want to look down on us or talk down on us and not look at what the system has done to us. That's the difference with Malcolm X. Malcolm X saw the same things, but he was telling us why this was happening. It's the system that got us acting like this. So you don't look around at each other and say, he's messed up, she's messed up. Look at our people. It's someone that has caused these issues.
Yeah, that's true. Just like Michael Jackson, he wanted to be white. He didn't want to be black. But as soon as his troubles hit him, he crawled to the Nation of Islam, and they protected him and helped him, whether he did it or not. That's up to each individual. But the point of it is, you know, he didn't want to speak out against the injustices. He was silent like a lamb. But then when his troubles hit him, then he wanted somebody to come and rescue him.
Sometimes it takes for us to get slapped in the face before we realize, and that's the sad part, we think that racism is something that y'all cry about in the past. It's not really happening today until something you step out of line. Then all of a sudden you're getting smacked on the back with a whip by the system, and now you want to come to us. And I even say that some of the immigrants are like that. They come here and they talk down on us and talk down about what we do. And then when something smack, when that same man that you quiet about and don't want to say anything to piss that man off, that man comes at you, then you want to go to the black community and say, yeah, this happened because I'm black. No, now you one of us, but before you was talking down on us. If you Idris Albert or whatever his name, and you don't, I'm not a black actor. Okay, so when the situation happened to you, don't be playing a black victim. If you're not black when you acting, then you're not black when you're a victim. So don't run to us. If we choose to do that, that's on us.
What about the people, Kev, that know that all this oppression is going on, but they're afraid that they're going to be labeled? There's a fear of being labeled. And a lot of times it happens in family members when we get together. Some of us, instead of talking about the issues that's at heart, we don't want our other family members to label, here come Kev again. There, even when we know what they're free to speak how they want to speak. But we can't say anything because we're afraid that everyone has already labeled us as this pro-black militant. Yeah, and it's like it's crazy. But what do you think about those types of people?
Man, I have a good friend of mine, man. We used to talk on the phone sometime about every time an issue come up. And he used to label me after kind of, man, you militant. Then he started opening his eyes and he started coming around. He said, man, you know what? I said, no, I'm militant, and that word gets to me. You label people militant and they label me militant or whatever, but then they want to tell me happy Veterans Day, I said, well, wait a minute. That's you congratulating me on being in the military, but then you want to call me militant when I'm talking about fighting for my people. I'm saying I'm militant with my people. Right. And for that's a bad word, but when I'm in the military, it's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? I think that our family member, we have to wake them up, man. If they're not coming around, and it may be the way that we're presenting it, we're smashed. Because I do have people that say, man, my son is all like this. And that's the youth. Yeah, they get revolutionary. It's like, y'all doing this and he attacking the family for Thanksgiving and all these things like that. And I say, yeah, because they don't have any tact. They just go, you can't go and just attack everybody. I think you have to be an intellectual revolutionary. You have to talk to people and let them come around at their own pace. You could present something to them and it may not stick, but it's in their mind because they heard it. Then after a while, like with my man, I'll say, yeah, man, I remember you used to call, and that's something we laugh about. He said, man, why you always got to bring that up? Wow. I say, wow, bro, you sounding quite militant.
Yeah. After all we've been through, Kev, the things I mentioned earlier with the Jim Crow, with the slavery, with the civil rights and so forth and so on, we have a lot to say about. We have a lot to talk about. But what I think it boils down to is this, and it's two words, and it has to do with self-respect. You and I and others, if we allow people to keep doing us the way we are being treated and we don't say anything, our self-respect, what kind of man or a woman, even when a person is in an abusive relationship, when they come to us, the first thing we tell them is to get out that relationship. Don't let that person keep beating you. Don't let that person keep using you. Don't let that person keep doing things to you. But yet we allow the system to keep doing things to us and we don't say anything. So it goes down to self-respect. We don't respect ourselves enough to say, if somebody spits in my face, and I sit there and you say, brother, did somebody just spit in your face? And I'm telling you, no, Kev, they didn't spit in my face, man. It's raining, because I'm trying to cape for them, take up for them, and make an excuse for them when I should be saying, you will never use that tongue again, because I'm going to make sure that you don't spit on anybody else. But the analogy is, most of us, we have these things done, all of us, I should say, as a black people, we have these things done to us, like you mentioned, every day. And yet we still won't say anything because silence are the lambs.
Yeah. And what is a lamb? A lamb is a harmless creature that gets led around. Good for the slaughter.
To go to the slaughter.
Friedrich Nietzsche, he's a philosopher. He had a thing called On the Genealogy of Morals, where his analogy is of birds of prey, and he talked about lambs. And his thing was, he was talking about slaves and slave masters, and the slaves were the lambs. That was his analogy to the slaves. They were good. You're a good slave. They're the people that's good. And then but his thing about the birds of prey, he said people think of birds of prey like they're evil because of the master. But if that bird of prey got to eat. And if he preys on you to eat, that's not being evil. But you allowing him to prey on you. So what's up, man?
I gotta say this, Kev, because you see my facial expressions, and I'm with you 100%. But I think I just use this ideal right here. There's a religion that teaches that the master went to the slaughter like a lamb, didn't open his mouth, was beaten and abused, misled, and some people feel like that they should be that way.
The meek shall inherit the earth. The lamb shall inherit the earth. The lambs get led to slaughter.
Kev, I don't understand this concept of allowing people to treat you anyway, and yet you don't do anything, but you're waiting for something to come out of a sky or something to come and happen, when for the last 500 years and counting, it's getting worse and worse. And do you think our ancestors prayed that this stuff would stop? I know they did, but it's still happening. So why are we acting like these ideas that we read are valid when you know that regardless of who went to the slaughter, listen, you and I are going to have to speak up and speak out against our injustices, because when we do that, that holds the oppressors accountable.
Right.
If you treat me in any kind of way that's not civil, I must come to you and say, hey, Brother Kevin, let's talk about this. I don't like what's going on. So now I confront you in love, and then you say, well, John, I didn't know that was the deal. So now you stop doing that. So see, now I've gotten what to happen needed to be happen. You stopped it because I confronted you. But if all I do is let you treat me like you know what, and go around and complain to everybody else, well, you know, Brother Kevin is just this way. Every time I get with him, he's this way. That is insane, but that's what we do today because we are afraid, man. We are shaking in our boots, many of us.
Like you gave the analogy of being in a bad relationship, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this person's steady beating you and abusing you, and they've been beating you. Why don't you leave? But then when you talk about being in an abusive relationship with the system and everything like that, and you bring up a certain thing that's, hey man, this is an example of that. What's happening in all of them do that. All of them, because it's like, okay, I remember I went to the Million Man March to Justice or Else, and Farrakhan had the resolution of correcting the issue. He said, well, what we gonna do or else? You talking about justice or else what? So now he got all these millions of people out there, black brothers and sisters, young, old, celebrities, you know. Then he's like, well, what we gonna do? We're gonna start with Black Friday. You know, hit them in the pocketbooks. We got to do something. He's not talking about going burning down anything. Right. He's like, you know, peaceful that anybody could do. Stop spending your money with them. If you're gonna spend on Black Friday, spend it with black people. Like, oh, that's for the babies. That's not, you don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? He's giving you a solution, but you don't want to do it. A peaceful solution that anybody could do. And I can understand that everybody not gonna do this and that. But then the flight that we catching from our own, man. You fighting a revolution. You got to fight with your own people because they in their military, they in the army fighting against you. As soon as you say stop doing this or stop spending your money here, or I like this, or I'm not gonna stop doing this, and that's the part that just gets me, because when I see Gucci make some kind of ad, some racial ad, and these days and time, you should never H&M or whoever that was that had the little black boy with the monkey thing, you know, these little Prada doing their little thing, they got the Sambo looking thing that I'm like, well, you know what, so when people say, man, you see this, so what should you do? What you think we should do? Let's boycott Gucci. Well, I bought my Gucci, I'm wearing my stuff, it costs too much. You know, you want to floss in these people that's smacking you in the face, and it's just like a bad relationship. You know, you're scared to get out of it. You don't want to get out of it. And I understand that. I mean, I had to look at some of the things that I was doing. If I complain about this candidate, and I had my man, I said, man, you know what? You did this for me. I'm going to buy you something from somewhere. He like, take me, let's go. Like, go ahead. And I'm like, He's like, what's up? I said, man, they support. I'm gonna say that they support Trump. Okay. They campaign for Trump. They donate for his campaign. You against Trump. Why? That's counterintuitive to me. Why would you go to places that's supporting the people that you hate, that you say is racist? Then they must have the same mentality and ideology as them, but you have no problem giving them your money. So it's counterintuitive to what you're trying to do. And he's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, all these places, it ain't like you don't have choices. You know, some things we don't have choices in. Right. But if you got choices everywhere you want to eat, and I still see the people going to the same places, but that's fine if you're going to do that. But don't complain about the candidates that they support. It's
called sacrifice. And maybe one day we're going to have to do a broadcast about sacrifice, because that word in itself is loaded. Because you have to give up something, brother. You can't sacrifice in a bed of ease. You're going to have to give up something. I'm going to have to give up something. And most of us, we don't want to give up things. We say we're going to do things to bring about a change. But if that causes us to give up something, like with the brothers and sisters who gave up riding the bus when they boycotted,
right?
They gave up that. They walked. A lot of them had to catch rides. They had to do everything they could to get to work, asking relatives that had cars, but it broke the back of the bus companies, but they had to give it up. In other words, they had to sacrifice. We got to do something about sacrifice, Kevin, because I don't think, and I'm talking about myself included, we don't really realize that it costs, man. Our ancestors, they sacrificed so much that I can't even get into now. But if you think about it, most of us want to live in a bed of ease and comfort. I don't like what's going on. Well, you got to no, I can't, like you just mentioned. No, I'm not going to do it. But yet we're the first ones on the line. Black power. Yeah, we're not a part of any institution or any organization. We're cliquish. We just want to get in a group. And a lot of times we don't say anything. And so this silence of the lambs is so fitting because many of us are we don't even want to talk. In other words, don't come to me with that, Kev. When you come to me, let's talk about sports. Let's talk about religion. Let's talk about women. Let's talk about this. But when you talk about, hey, what are we going to do to help these kids who are being brainwashed? I want to talk about that.
They want to talk about it, but they don't want to do anything about it. Like I said, you talk about the action. That was great, man. When you talk, it's not just talking, but when you talking and not doing anything, then you just, and when the man come around, when it's time to, or you want to get quiet and stuff, you dropping your head, okay. I'm like, okay. You don't want to talk too loud about this, and it's something that you're saying, you're not lying about anything. You're talking about, or you say, I support this person. They don't have any problem supporting with their Trump supporting or Confederate flag supporting or talking about what's happening, on and we don't know, or you just, your people doing this too. They don't have a problem talking about what's going on, but then you have a problem opening your mouth, or you open your mouth about something else, and or jump on when a black person is doing something wrong, then you want to be boisterous and all. Did you see this? And this is what I'm talking about. But talk about, I don't hear you talking about the other stuff. I don't hear you talking about them doing this to us, or when a white person is doing the same thing that you're this black person been accused of doing or is guilty of doing. It's people guilty doing all type of things. Don't talk to me about black on black crime when it's white on white crime is the most atrocious. White on black crime. I ain't even talking about white on white crime. I'm talking about the white on black crime has been something that has been prevalent in this country. You're scared to talk about that, but you're going to talk about black on black crime.
Or you sit around and you talk about those things that you shouldn't be talking about, but what you should be talking about, we don't talk about. And I'm going to put a plug in for this show, and you can call it a commercial if you like, but I'm going to tell the truth. Many of our viewers, they know this show is applicable to their lives. It helps them. We're giving out practical truths of what we can do about the situation. We always come up with a topic that's going to challenge people to do better. You would think that the audience, many of them, now those who have is fine, but you would think that they would call their friends and say, there's a show called the Jah and Kev Show. We should be one of the most watched broadcasts in San Antonio, Texas, because we're talking about things that's going to help uplift the community, uplift men and women, boys and girls, grandparents, and so forth and so on. But yet a lot of them just get into their mode. They watch us and we appreciate that. But they don't go out and they don't even tell people about the Jah and Kev Show, because the point that I'm making is this: we're silent as a lamb, even in something like this. You see, we want people to hear this broadcast. We want people to know that there are two brothers who don't just sit around. This broadcast is a very, very powerful broadcast. And I would not apologize to no one. I would not tuck my tail between my legs and apologize for what we do. This is for our people. We want our people to learn. We want our people to grow. We want our people to love knowledge. And so we want to encourage even the people here. If we were two rock stars or two old school entertainers that did a song back in the 80s that was a hit, and we came to town and we did a broadcast, I promise you we would probably have 200,000 people watching us talk about nonsense.
You said a lot right there, man. I'm gonna say this. I keep bringing up Farrakhan, right? And I remember because what happened. I kind of grew up with that. I wasn't in the nation. I never was in the nation, anything like that. But I kind of grew up listening to Malcolm X and Farrakhan and anybody. I mean, a lot of these revolutionary speakers or leaders. And I remember he said something that stuck with me. Like I was a young dude, and he said, "Pill it's like a doctor. We looking for a pill to save us, or whatever it is. That pill could be savior or whatever, but we're looking for the get thin quick thing or whatever people do. They don't want to do the footwork. You don't want to get out there and get none of that concrete and run or jog or eat healthy and give up the things that's killing you. He said, and the bad thing about it, he said, if you open the newspaper, back when we had newspapers all around, he said, you see headlines, you see one thing that said sex scandal in the political, whatever. He said, then you see something else about something that's good for us in our community. He said, first thing people gonna jump to is the sex scandal. You could say police killed this woman or this, anything going on. And he said, but as soon as we see sex scandal, that's what everybody want to run to. They run into that entertainment. You become slaves to entertainment over things that's helping your people. This show is something that we were sitting up talking about celebrity gossip. We talked about, if we talked about Will Smith or P. Diddy or anything or the trials, people would be tuning in and having an opinion and wanting to call in and say all this stuff. The younger people would do that. The older people would get on the celebrity gossip and things like that. But when you're talking about something about doing work for our people, you don't want to get involved. And if you just want to listen, that's fine. But you should. I'm gonna say this. Okay, we've done shows remotely for some people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did not the people that just listen. I'm talking about people that we've done shows for to promote them. And they don't promote us. And what's that?
Well, it has to do with a mental. It's a mental conditioning. A lot of us, we talk a good game because we know the words to say. It's like if we went to church and we haven't been to church for 25 times or 25 years, I should say, we know how to say when we first start talking, God is good, the head of my life, blah, blah, blah. We say the things that we're supposed to say. But when it comes to doing, because we've been mentally taken advantage of. So what I'm saying to answer your question is this: the problem that these people treat us this way, which we're not complaining in the sense where we need it, it's just that it's the reality. I'm saying that because most of us have this mindset that's Eurocentric, although we want to appear Afrocentric on the outside, but on the inside, it's nothing. Even when on the inside, it's Eurocentric to the core. It's just like people who talk this good game about all different, educational facilities and religion. All that was taught to us by these Europeans. And we've accepted that. And now when you and I talk about it, they want to say this is it. But on a day-to-day basis, Kev, every one of us should be speaking out against the injustice as it comes in our lap and telling people that, hey, we're down for our people. And if we don't do it, who else is going to do it?
Yeah, I chuckled, man. I thought about some of these Afrocentric people that's wearing a dashiki that they got from the flea market and the Chinese. That was like, man, well, that one only costs $14, but you wearing it like you, like, you missing the point. You want to be Afrocentric, but you don't want to, donate the money or spend the money with the black company. It's a black lady in there that sell the African dashiki, but you want to go and you sit there because it's a fad. You just want to look it. You ain't living it because your money should be going to these people that actually live it.
Man, you wrong, Kel. You wrong for that because somebody in my family wear a dashiki every February for the whole month, and I asked them one day, why do you wear dashiki every February, but once March hits or before February, you have nothing to do with African culture, Afrocentricity, the African American? And they said this. They said this though. The answer was this: I got to represent.
And then in March they represent what's that? The St. Patrick's Day.
Exactly.
And they green, the pink stuff.
Silence of the lambs. They won't say anything.
And it brought to mind when they always talk about a wolf in sheep clothing. Sometimes it's sheep that's in wolves' clothing. That's the thing. They act like they're a wolf or they're a lion, but they're really a lamb. That's the bad part. Many of us, and I know I hate to just down us like that, but we have to break that mentality.
Talk.
Because they want you to have that mentality. They want you to say, talk about this, but you have to talk about that. We're not just talking about the wrongs that's done to black people, things like that. Even when we talk about, you brought up Black History Month. My Black history was always the atrocities. We have the histories. Black history is about the history of blacks in here in America. A lot of our history has been the atrocities that they have done. So I used to put up us being lynched. That's part of our history. They want you to talk, Rosa Parks did this, and Martin Luther King did this. And if it wasn't for Jackie Robinson, y'all wouldn't be able to, And see, that's the feel good stuff. But it's not the reality.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? And it's all those Jackie Robinson stories. For every Jackie Robinson or Bill Russell's, there's been 100 of us that's been lynched or being lynched today. This is Black history. History was something that happened last year. History was what happened to Trayvon. History is all the Oscar Grant, all these things like that. Mary Turner, all of these things are our history. Not just Frederick Douglass saying this and we should be feeling good. No, I should be looking at the history and getting pissed off at what you did, and that should motivate me to want to do something about it, because the same things are still happening.
And silence of the lambs is even when you look at history, because we study history, as you mentioned, to just feel good, and so we're going to die feeling good. But when we study history, we also have to bring into the equation, we should learn from the history lessons that we've been studying. Whatever we're studying, there should be a lesson to teach us to be better, or to overthrow the system, or to do things or put us in a position to help our people. We never talk about that. We just want to talk about names and dates, or if you mention a name and I don't know the name, then you big. So whoever can throw a name out, well, I never heard of that, so you're big. No, what about that person that we're mentioning? What did they do that can help us all as a people?
Exactly. If I look at a movie, I bring up on my show, I talk about a movie where it has nothing to do with us, and I'm saying, what can I get from that to help us in our situation, or to open eyes up to our situation? And people know, man, I'm like, what are you reaching all the way from that? Like, everything I'm doing is for a cause. I gotta go. It's a cause for that. And I don't just look at things and just take it. Oh, that's just entertaining to me. And sometimes I will, but I'm saying most of the things I do is pragmatic to our situation, or what has happened, or how they did these people, and how that relates to how they doing our people, or how we need to learn from that. You should be wanting to do something.
Wow.
To help progress your people.
And as people look at this broadcast, and they may not like some of the things we've said, but we're talking to ourselves as well. But Kev, I have to come up with four words, and I know you're going to do your comments here, but I want to come up with 4 words that what it boils down to. Silence of the lambs. It boils down to this, Kev. Many of us, not all of us, but many of us, we don't want this. We don't want it. So we can say what we want to say, but many of us, I'll say that way. We don't want this kind of language. We don't want this overthrowing oppressors. We want to be treated like the people that we're being treated. We don't want to say anything about the oppression. So in other words, a lot of us have that attitude. So instead of talking about how we can be better people from watching this and speak out, they'll talk about something you said on the broadcast, or something I said, and that's going to be the highlight of the Jah and Kev show was all right, but y'all said this and I don't agree with him, blah, blah, blah. Kev said that he ought to do this, as opposed to looking at, are you being silent as a lamb? See, that's the application that most people don't want to get to.
Yeah, it's the path of least resistance, man. I know that's how the mind operates in its innate form. If you have a longer road to travel, or a harder road, you're not going to walk up the hill as opposed to walking, but then sometimes that hill has to be walked.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes you have to put in the work to get yourself out of the condition that you're in. You could stay comfortable. I remember a show I seen as it's the Shepherd, something, I can't even think of the name of it, but it was Dr. Shepherd, the guy, they made the Fugitive movie like this. And it was an actual case where the guy was supposedly killed his wife. But I remember the lawyer came in the case, and he said a murder happened, not a murder happened. He said a crime happened, and a lady, somebody snatched her purse or whatever, and it happened she was like a street lady, a prostitute, if you will. And he said, but everybody was over there. It happened over here in the dark. But he said the police and everybody was investigating over in the light. And the guy go over there, he said, well, why y'all over here looking in the light when it happened over there in the dark? Oh, well, we can see better here. It's more comfortable. It's better for us to look here, and you're not going to find anything. Yeah. And that stuck in my mind. And then I think about, that was before I'm thinking about Black conscience, it's like that's sticking in my mind with our people. We want to be in the light. We want to go. It's nothing there in the light for us.
Wow.
The real dirty work is over here in the dark.
Okay.
And you got to get dirty. If you want to correct the issue, all of the stuff that we're doing in the light, it's not going to help correct our issue. You want to be seen. You want to sit up here and I said, look, I'm feeding this homeless person, but you don't really give a damn about that.
Exactly.
You just want to be seen. You want the light on you. You want to do the stuff that's in the light. You want to post something and like I'm down with the cause. Or everybody's jumping on Harris. I want to jump on Harris too. But you're not jumping on the other people. You're not you're not supporting anything. All you want to do is attack us. Look at the Black people do black on black crime, whatever it is. That's the thing of the moment.
Can I please? I have to say this before we get off the broadcast, because we're not restricted to just an hour, because we started a little late, so we're going to get this in. But that was excellent what you just said, and I appreciate that. But here's what the reality is: where we are as a people. Although we wear the mask and we think all those things that you mentioned, but the reality is this: there's a Greek myth. There was a guy named Sisyphus. And Sisyphus was told to do the right thing and to speak out against all the evils. Sisyphus didn't open his mouth. As his punishment, they had Sisyphus rolling a big old ball up a hill, a boulder up this hill. And when Sisyphus got to the top of the hill, the boulder rolled back down. And for the rest of his life, he had to push that boulder up that hill until he left. And that's where we are now. Many of us, we push that boulder. It's hard, the bills and everything. We don't talk about what we should. So we lift the boulder, we get it to the top. Whew. And then it goes back down. Then we start lifting again. The kids are not doing well, blah, blah, blah. But we never talk about what we need to. So for the rest of our natural born lives, metaphorically speaking, we're actually rolling up this boulder, man, up this hill, only for it to roll back down and for us to roll it back up again.
And the sad part of that, man, when I'm thinking and listening to you say that, the bad part of it is other people that we're pushing that boulder for, they sitting around looking and watching us push the boulder. Like, see, look at them, look at that fool, look at that. But I'm pushing this boulder for you. And then the even worse thing is that some people are on the other side of that boulder pushing it back down. Mm-hmm. And so, we got we got a bunch of us out here, we pushing, and then other people are pushing against us that look like us. The system the system gonna give us that boulder. They're gonna make it hard, and you people lose their job, and they choose to speak up. And people say, well, he's stupid. He shouldn't have said, why is he doing this for you?
Right.
They blackballing him. He's bringing awareness to it. And you're sitting up there talking about him like he's some kind of idiot for fighting the system.
He's trying to inspire
the same thing that these brothers fought this, they didn't say in the word. They just did a protest, a silent protest. This is what's happening back in America. I'm running this race and I'm winning for this country that's still doing it to my people. Let me show y'all what I'm talking about. Then they sit there, they come back to America, they can't get a job.
Nope.
They can't. They losing their marriages. Their friends don't want to talk to them.
What were the black people that supported?
What happened to the celebrities? I'm looking at all the people that we look up to. I'm like, well, no, so and so don't need a trainer, somebody that can help. These are athletes, so nobody needs trainers, so nobody needs to teach them. And they like you say, even the action part of being a lamb. You silent like a lamb. You didn't even do nothing. That's what I thought about when I heard the plight.
Right.
I knew about these brothers because I heard older people talking about it. But when I started learning their names and what they did, and then they start telling me what happened after this, and I'm like, y'all did it for our people. We got all these athletes. I don't care, like Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali. Y'all didn't need somebody in y'all camp that could help them make a living, but they got strangled. System. And then the serial killers helped them kill them.
The rest of us were silent as the lambs.
All right, so you want to read comments, man?
No, you go ahead. I have on my reading glasses.
Let me thank some of the people that came on Facebook first. And Maria, I appreciate. She said, "Hotep Kings." Sakina, she gave a greeting. Walaikum assalam, Sakina. I appreciate you. Barbara Royal, she said, "Hotep, greetings." Coretta, good afternoon. I appreciate you showing up. Lede, she said, "Good afternoon." Barbara said, "Tell it like it is." She said, "We have no solution, just rhetoric, and just don't give a blank." I appreciate that. And Josiah said, "You two brothers are on spot on today." She said, "We talk good game, but when we push come to shove, we will fold like a cheap suit and won't say anything at all. Good talking. Point brothers." I appreciate that. She said, "Big facts." Barbara said that. Sakina said, "One's condition will not change until they take the steps to change themselves and their people." I appreciate that comment. And man, we had Barbara said, "You kings are on flame." She said, "Fire, love it." And Coretta said, "Y'all really on it today. Speak, brothers." And Barbara said, "Teach." So look like we had a pretty good show, man. I do want to say this in closing, for my part, closing. You may want to close too. And I said I was going to read a quote or recite a quote. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to recite it. I stuck in my mind.
Okay.
It said, "Throughout history, it has been the inaction of those that should have acted. It has been the indifference of those that should have known better. And it has been the silence in the voice of justice that has allowed evil to triumph. And that was from the great emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie.
Wow.
The inaction of those that could have acted, the indifference of those that should have known better. Like, you don't care. You're indifferent about it. You should know better than that. And the inaction of those that should have acted.
Wow, that's pretty heavy, Kev. And I keep thinking about that sacrifice show, because that's got to come out, because that's just so heavy, and that's one of our issues. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change glasses since I can see now. Now I'm an old man. Now I got to put on my reading glasses. When you get old, you get reading glasses. But I want to read that quote I read again earlier about how many of us, as you just mentioned, we talk a good game, as Josiah said, but yet we're not about the right. And here's the reason why. True heroes are those that sacrifice it all for the cause. Some of us don't even cry for freedom anymore, but we often find ourselves ensnared by chains of our own making, unable to loosen the grip of comfort, unwilling to face the raw edges of sacrifice. We don't even speak of liberty with fervor, yet we shrink at the first taste of struggle, afraid to sever ties with the familiar lives that bind them. In our hearts, fear festers, a fear of losing ease, status, or safety, keeping us anchored to a life we profess to despise. And so our freedom remains a ghostly illusion, haunting us, for we cannot bear the weight of what it truly demands.
Wow. We appreciate y'all showing up, and hopefully we'll have another good show. I'm not going to say a better show. We're going to have another good show for y'all in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir.
And check us out. Let people know. Subscribe to our channel. I know a lot of y'all check in on Facebook, but give us some people that subscribe to our channel. Give us some power, and hopefully it'll be like, I don't know. That's what you want to do next time. Sacrifice. All right. We're going to talk about the sacrifice. We did the lambs,
right?
And people like the sacrifice of the lambs. And we're going to talk about the sacrifices, or the lack of sacrifices that people make.
And I want to get out of here by saying we thank all of you for watching this broadcast. We truly, Kev and I truly appreciate your support. Continue to watch the broadcast and learn. But most of all, make sure you apply the principles to what we are talking about.